Good evening, everybody, and a big welcome to the first of the BGA webinars. For those of you who don't know me, Andy Perkins, the BGA Chairman, and today is our 90th anniversary, and I was hoping to have some really wonderful sort of things to publish today, and alas, this is one of the exciting things that we're going to be doing, which is the online version whilst every club in the country is closed. So obviously, the most important thing is I really hope that all of you are managing to keep safe and well in these very challenging times. And I think a big thank you to Matt Page, who spent the last week investigating all the different platforms to see what's the best way of us keeping in touch through the summer months, making sure that importantly we keep people engaged and interested in gliding. So you'd be glad to know I'm not going to make you look at my face for half an hour because I think that would probably put a lot of people off. But what I am keen to try and do is have a little bit of a Q&A session. I think everyone with this new Click Meeting platform has the ability to text a few questions. So if you want to do that, if you can just type away a question, I'll endeavour to get through those later on. What I'm planning on doing is just give you a little bit of an introduction as to what we're going to be doing over the coming months to try and help engage and help all of the sport across the country during the shutdown due to COVID-19. So if you have any questions, put them into the little chat box, and during any videos, I'll endeavour to have a look at those. And if there's lots, I'll just pick a few and answer those. And obviously, anything else I can do separately offline. So, what is coming up? The plan is that particularly whilst we're in lockdown, we want to make sure that you're not just looking out the window pining to get into the sky, and actually that there's things for you to be getting on with. So there's lots of different things that we think will be possible through this medium. The first is that we're going to have some really interesting people doing some fantastic talks. The first one is due on Sunday with Finn and Jake talking about their experiences as from the junior sort of gliding perspective, and particularly in terms of the junior worlds and how they've managed to accelerate their gliding to make sure that they're world leaders. And I think there'll be some fantastic tips you'll be able to learn from them if you tune in on Sunday. Over the next 2 months, I think the plan is to try and get some regular slots of different people talking and giving you an insight to different parts of the sport. Now, the most important thing we want to cover on this is to make sure it's relevant to the whole spectrum of experience. So I'm hoping we'll have everyone from world champions through to people who are just starting in gliding, logging in and seeing what they want in terms of material. So there's going to be some elements where we're doing sort of the early instruction period. So talking about techniques of joining thermals, how to optimize your climb rate, which is obviously applicable to everybody, and then moving on into competition flying, how to do that better, and then to maybe go into some of the specialist elements of mountain flying and aerobatics and all of those good things. Now, instead of me talking ad infinitum, what I'm going to do is play a couple of short clips off of YouTube just to highlight some of the things that are already out there, and I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar with. But some of them you'll probably recognise, and some are a little bit of a blast from the past for the junior glider pilots that have logged in. So I will pop a few of those on and see what we can do. Right, here we go.
It was awesome. It really was. The experience of a lifetime. Beautiful.
Absolutely amazing.
Completely at peace, and it's complete escapism as well.
As soon as you get up there, it's really exhilarating.
And all I could think of was music from Top Gun.
It's like sailing a boat, but in air. The sensation is stunning.
Like a bird, really. You get to take over the controls, which is really exciting.
It's the excitement and the adrenaline rush you get from it. It's quite a buzz.
It's really just the beauty of the sky and the beauty of the landscape that really draws me to the sport.
Try it, it's good fun.
I'd go every day for good.
Come and try. It's fantastic.
Today, I'm lucky enough to say I fly a Boeing 777 for a living. And on my days off, I still come and fly these gliders because this is where the pure enjoyment of it is.
Right, so you might be thinking, what? Oh, hang on a second, even more. Right, so you might be thinking, what was the relevance of that initial go gliding video from the Glide Britain thing that happened over the last 12 to 18 months? Well, the reason for highlighting that is you'll have seen that a lot of that was centered around club flying. Now, one of the big things that is currently happening is a lot of membership renewals across the country. And a lot of people obviously can't go flying. And obviously, the other thing is that the way the economy has been affected so far, some of our members will find it particularly difficult in terms of paying their membership up front at this time of year and because of the circumstance. So all I would say, though, is that if there is any way that you want to be able to support your club, and there is a couple of little slides here. One of the things that we think would be really good is to try and sign up and remain a member of your club. That will help immensely in terms of the club finances whilst everything is shut down. And as soon as we're able to go flying, we'll obviously be doing what we can from a BGA perspective to assist clubs and in effect then assist yourselves as glider pilots to make sure that you can get airborne safely and as quickly and responsibly as possible. There's a few questions coming in. What I'm finding is that currently I can only see a couple of the questions as they pop up. So what I'll try and do is maybe answer a couple and then move on to the next bit. There was a mention from Steve. Yeah, I'm afraid in terms of the last minute nature of this being promulgated, it's an entirely new platform. So the intention is that tonight's will be recorded and people will be able to watch it back at their leisure at any time. And that actually goes for anything that we produce on this platform. If you're otherwise engaged, busy off looking after family members or doing something else for a few hours, you will be able to log back in and see what else has happened during the last couple of days if you've not had a chance to log on. So we talked a little bit there about how you can help your club. The other thing during the downturn is there's talk of setting up some Condor sessions where we can look at aerobatics and trying to help people go through all of the different techniques just so that they're up to speed in terms of seeing what we can do in terms of the techniques required for some of the advanced maneuvers. Obviously, the other thing you'll be able to do is hopefully do some practice formation aerobatics and other interesting things that you might not want to do in real life. The other things that of interest, there's talk of doing not just some ridge soaring, but actually to do some races using Condor. And I know that the junior winter series team are already on the case of trying to set something up to have 70 online gliders all doing a competition of some form. The other thing we're looking at here, and there's a couple of suggestions from different clubs around the country, was that they might do some lead and follow instruction. And although I'm not an active user of Condor, that may change over the next few months. There's certainly talk of it being realistic enough that we can actually use this for some training in the techniques involved, as well as giving you a really good insight and some entertainment during the long days ahead, particularly if it starts chucking down with rain. There is also one other version which I found, which was the Scottish Legends version of Condor. I'm going to see if we can't get a couple of the leading guys who, I mean, John Williams and Roy Wilson and the whole team up there, do some absolutely incredible flights all around the Scottish Highlands, and the scenery and setup in Condor has actually got a lot of that already in place. And if we can convince the guys to give up a bit of their time, I think that would make for a really interesting lead and follow to maybe recreate a couple of the exceptional flights that that John and Roy and others have achieved in the last few months. So that's what we're thinking of there. In terms of other things that sort of maybe keep us interested during the time that we've got in lockdown, I started having a look mainly through YouTube in terms of the content that's already there. And it was quite bizarre what sort of pops up. I looked for gliding in the mountains, and the one that popped up first of all was actually this one, which I will now share with you. As you can see, not actually in a glider, but quite interesting to watch how these guys enjoy their bit of aviation.
When you proxy fly, or even when you do normal base jumps, if you can call it normal base jump. But usually you manage the fear before the flight, and once you're committed to fly, you're just flying. Here, it's just commitment. You decide to enter the crack, you have to go for it. There's no point. Hit the fence.
I did too. That was fucking killer, man. Nice, yeah. Nice flying.
Right, I think I'm back. Sorry, I just heard the last little bit of that, so I hope that didn't cause any offence to anybody. But just quite interesting to see how some people really sort of take it to the extreme. We'll show you some other little bits of sort of gliding in the mountains that I really love. So I'll share that little bit towards the end. The other bit that I sort of really wanted to talk about was just the fact that it is our 90th anniversary. it almost breaks my heart to sort of see every single gliding club in the country closed at the moment. But what has been remarkable is, having spoken to most club chairmen this week, we've been lucky enough to get hold of around about 50 out of the 80 club chairmen to hear all the amazing things that are still happening and the spirit within the clubs. At the end of the day, this is going to be a battle of survival in many ways, and it's just great to know that we've got such incredible people within our sport that really want to make it all still exist and make it all happen. And I really think it would be just one of those things that we need to obviously get through, and by doing that together, I'm sure we'll have a really strong sport at the end of it. The only other thing in terms of everything that is going on is obviously we're going to be doing everything we can to support clubs, and that is very wide ranging, and we're working with everybody across from the CAA, who are being very helpful, believe it or not. In some people maybe don't think that they are, but they're doing a cracking job under the circumstances, and they are replying to our requests for more information. And there's going to be extensions to renewals and medicals and all sorts of elements which were being pumped out still this evening. Just before I logged on, there was a lot more information coming out of the CAA, and we'll be sending all of that information on to your clubs to help you with the flying, to make sure that when we are ready to get back out there, and when we're allowed back out, we can do what we can to smooth that and make it a safe but quick transition to get you flying again. Just going to have a little look. I know Matt has very kindly been answering a lot of the questions as we go. It sounds like there's some good talk about Condor, and oh, look at that. Can there be something arranged with Condor to arrange a discount? There we go. I guess, Matt, you've kindly popped that up on the screen, or unless I just did it by accident. And I believe so. It says at South Wales Gliding Club, they've got a 20% discount with Condor. So I imagine with the number of people that would like to get involved with using Condor, they'll be more than happy to facilitate something. However, yeah, I think it's a good question. I think this is the other question: is each club going to have to sort out a discount, or can we try to arrange something for all the clubs? If that's something people would like, we'll definitely get onto that and see what we can do. So we'll report back via the usual channels, and also through the BGA Facebook page. I'll get someone to do some research on that and see what we can come back with. There was another question, I think, which was to do with, let me have a little look. No, I think that was it for now. So yeah, great. We'll see what we can do there. So what I think I'll do now is another short YouTube clip. And one of the things that I think has always been really remarkable in our sport is the way the juniors have set up and done so many different things. And looking back through YouTube, there's the things that have been there for 7 years now. So I'm hoping there's a few of the people who are in this picture, in this short footage, that are actually online, because they can be horrified by how horrific their haircuts look from 7 years ago. But it is, I think it's just one of those things that is really good to see, because the junior element of our sport now makes up around about 15% of the total membership. Now, what is great about that is I think it's not only showing new fresh blood coming into the system, but it also gives us the great opportunity to use some of the brilliant things that are coming out of junior gliding and the connectivity and comms that everyone seems to manage through the winter series and the summer series, as well as the junior nationals, to try and get that same connectivity across the rest of the sport. and that's something we'll be trying to focus on over the next 2 months during this lockdown, just to try and find a way of making sure we can increase that accessibility to the sport for everyone, and try and get that feeling that we all enjoy at our clubs across the whole of the country via online mediums. So here we go.
When life brings trouble, you can fight or run away. I have no struggle. Relax, watch me float away. I'm coasting on a dream. I'm coasting. This one's for you and me. Not to set trip, but my car jet fast as I drift over cliff. The sunset, yes, it's me and myself. I needed a rest. The windows down, breathing deep in my chest. Used to feel hopeless, now I feel so rare. Seats lean back, can't see my chair. See my eyes reflecting the sky. I feel so divine, giving thanks I'm alive. Cause we came a long way since our days in the 8. Sleepless nights, was trying to get right. Now I just glide, wind in my sails. I toast to the ocean, she balanced my scales. West coasting, got degrees in my naps. I believe in me black when life do you rest. Stay focused, true indeed it's a fact. When them hard times come, love will bring you right back. When life brings trouble, you can fight or run away. I have no struggle. Relax, watch me float away. I'm coasting on a dream. I'm coasting. This one's for you and me. Now some pop bottles, some chase models, as if it's all live. Prime time, the Apollo. Mighty big deal, too many can't swallow. The pain got them tripping off things, feeling hollow. Weight on my brain, spitting my slang. Cause I don't wanna go insane. I'm forward on my mission now, I'm deep in the game. Got my speakers on black while I'm switching the lane. Stay low, pro, info. Started out at Kinko. 10 years later, out to Vegas on a G4. The seats bucket when we puff past. Passport to my luggage, got my beats on smash. Attitude of a winner, that's some DMA. So it feel like it's summer anywhere that I lay. Hey, it's CA to the day that we out. Stay strong through the struggle, that's what life is about. When life brings trouble, you can fight or run away. I have no struggle. Relax, watch me float away. I'm coasting on a dream. I'm coasting. This one's for you and me.
I was enjoying that too much, but I decided we probably don't need to see everyone enjoying themselves in the bar as well. It's bad enough looking at those beautiful skies and not being able to get into them. So yeah, that's one of the things that I'd really like to see us do, is just keeping that community feel together for the whole of the sport, because you know what, is as well as the actual flying, it's the people that make our sport. And I'm just really keen that we look out for each other over the next 6 months in particular, because whatever happens in terms of the sort of, I suppose, the restrictions on our daily lives and the safety of everything, I think there's going to be some restrictions in place of some form for people longer term, depending on what group of you're in, what category, particularly in any of the vulnerable groups. So there's going to be different things we'll have to do to try and help keep our fellow glider pilots engaged and excited about gliding. So before I sort of wrap this up, I just got one last little clip, which is just to look at some of the other bits that I love, which is the mountain flying. And I thought it'd just be nice to have a little look back at one of the other organisations, Glider Marama, which down in New Zealand, for those of you that aren't familiar. Unfortunately, they're just shutting up shop. He's decided after many years that now's the time to stop and pursue other parts of the sport for his own pleasure. But this just gives you an insight of some of the incredible flying that you can do down there.
It's the sport of kings, really. Oh my God. Just amazing.
Right, I think I saw Emily's on. So Emily, Don't worry, even though Glider Marima has stopped, we'll make sure we get you put in touch with everybody down there.
Sure. Okay, so you have control.
Just turn that off again. Sorry about that. But yeah, no, we'll make sure we put you in touch with them and give you the opportunity to go and experience some of that. And I think as soon as the world opens up, hopefully there'll be time for us to go and explore all of that in person. Now, there's going to be a lot of people over the coming months that will want to know more about all these different bits. So just a reminder to have a little look at the Facebook page, and also to have a look at all the different bits that come out through the different email streams that we're going to send to your clubs to enable you to listen to some of the leading pilots around the country. So whether that's from an instructional viewpoint, or through Condor, or through trying to learn about the sort of advanced techniques to make you the next world champion, we're going to do our best to make sure that we get all of that to you and give you the opportunity. So just to recap, I suppose, is please do what you can to look after each other, keep safe, and if we can, just make sure that you not only look after yourself, but if you can, support your club by rejoining as soon as you can with your annual membership if that's due for renewal, as it's important that whatever we do, when we come out of this, we all want the opportunity to get ourselves airborne and get as much gliding in as possible. Right, let's have a quick look on any of the other questions here, and I'll ask Matt if there's anything I've missed. Competition information would be nice to get in my near future. So I think that's obviously just a little bit of a slip on the typing. Yes, I agree. At the moment, it all depends on how long the lockdown is. And there's a couple of different scenarios that have been muted sort of unofficially. One is some limited sort of access to everyone and an opening up the economy for 3 or 4 weeks. In particular, I'm waiting to see if there's a secondary spike, but then putting people back in lockdown, or a longer lockdown, and then hopefully coming out of it with a bit of a solution and game plan to allow some form of what we used to see as normal life reoccur. So at the moment, that one is being looked into, and I don't think there's going to be anything in the next 2 weeks that we can release on that. However, we're hopeful that there should be much more clarity in terms of the expected length of shutdown, and what it might look like in terms of starting up in terms of freedoms and what we'll be able to achieve. And from that, we'll then be able to obviously work out how competitions could run to make sure that we've got enough of the freedoms we need in terms of movement of people around the country to enable them to happen unhindered. So it's a watching brief, I'm afraid, on that one, but we'll obviously do what we can. Yeah, Freddie, we'll do what we can in terms of making sure the Facebook page becomes more targeted. Yeah, I think a lot of these things can probably be targeted. Dare I say, you're one of the sort of prime users of that kind of social media. So therefore, if there's any suggestions from anybody who's on today, or anyone that you know who's got real good experience of how we can target the information to people on Facebook as well as the other mediums. I know Hootsuite is a good one to link a lot of the social media platforms together. Then certainly please let us know, and we'll do what we can, because communication is going to be key, and it would be good to keep everyone together as much as we can. Yeah, I heard that, which is great. That Dunstable plan to do some of their bronze lectures, and yeah, it would be brilliant if we could coordinate that. If you could let us know more about that offline, Justin, that'd be great. When we talked to a lot of the club chairmen this past week, that was one of the things, and similarly with Condor, several clubs are setting up Condor servers. So there may well be a way of us linking a lot of this technology together to enable some fairly impressive things further down the line. So again, if anyone sees anything and feels slightly frustrated, if they feel they're not getting anywhere with it, or they see a missed opportunity, then please again drop the office a line and we'll do our best to link everything together. And making sure that we optimize using this platform and others for different clubs is an important part of what we want to try and achieve. So let's have a look. Couple more. Are there a couple more questions? Let's have a look. So I think, yep. I think there's a little note there that Kate at the Scottish Gliding Club, is that, I think, finished her bronze lectures online. So a chat with her. Yep, thank you very much. We'll see what we can do. So that's it. Thank you very much. It's quite nice having somebody in the background just moving the screen around for me. It's quite liberating. So thank you ever so much, everyone, for tuning in. As I say, just that common message of please look after everyone in your club, particularly the members that are maybe at home either on their own and having to feel as though they have to self-isolate as a result of either age or medical conditions. If people are able to just drop them a line and keep in touch with them, I know they'll appreciate it. And I think it's one of the strong things from our sport is I'm hearing more and more of different people all across the country wanting to help and wanting to keep everybody in touch. And yeah, it's a heartfelt thanks to everybody for what you're doing to keep our sport alive at this time. And I look forward to later in the coming months talking about a few different things, but also hearing your experience and hoping that you learn lots of different things through the experts that we get to do some of these WebExes over the coming months. The other thing, I suppose, just to finish off, is stay as happy as you can. Remember that any loved ones in the house do love you, even if it gets a bit stressful at times. And I really hope that this helps keep the focus and keep the boredom at bay. So have a great evening and look forward to seeing you all around the country when we're allowed to. Take care.